Attention all authors. Page Publishing is looking for authors. Have you written a book and want to get it published? Page Publishing will get your book into bookstores and for sale online at Amazon, Apple iTunes, and other outlets. They handle all aspects of the publishing process for you. Printing, cover art, publicity, copyright, and editing. Call 800-204-6099 now for your free author submission kit. That's 800-204-6099 for your free author submission kit.
This is the Page Publishing Book Club. Good evening. I'm your host, Alice Stockton Rossini, along with my engineer, Rob Barrett. How you doing, Rob? Hope you're well and getting into the swing of the new year. Woohoo! Funny thing about the new year, isn't it, Rob? By about now, let's see, all your resolutions are out the window, right? You feel like the holidays never happened. You feel like you never had a break. And in a lot of cases, you don't get a break on the holidays. You just go crazier. But it's like it was far, far away. You know what I mean? Like 2015 was far, far away. You still writing 2015 on your checks or like papers or whatever? Ugh, I used to have the worst time with that. Anyway, the only resolution you need to keep, my Page Publishing Book Club faithful, is the resolution that you're going to get a book published this year. Do you hear me? Do you hear me? Even Rob is going to publish a book. Am I right, Rob? You're going to publish a book. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be like this massive page turner about, about being the mystery man behind the glass, making everybody sound like they know what they're talking about. He's a magician. Really. We just sit here and mumble along, but Rob, he puts it all into perspective. He edits it all together. Like that. You're going to edit that, right? Edits it all together so we don't sound like idiots. Enough about Rob. What about you? You have an idea. I know you do. You have a story. You have an interesting trip, experience, something you've done. You've got something to share. I know you do, because it's just like welling up inside of you every time you tune into the Page Publishing Book Club. I can feel it. And you're going to do it this year, right? You're going to be published, and you're going to be our next guest on the Page Publishing Book Club. How exciting is that? It's very exciting for me. And Rob, too. See, he's getting all excited. I can see it. His face is red. Okay, we are going to begin tonight with a book about breast cancer. All right, right away, right? Turn off. I know what you're going to think, but it's not what you think. When you talk about breast cancer, it's usually, dark and scary and, how I survived and how awful it was. And I've had a couple of friends who've gone through breast cancer and a family member. They've gone through the surgery, the mastectomies, and it's scary. No doubt about it. It's scary. But you know what? There is room for laughter. That's right. And Dr. Sherry Meltz, a doctor of psychology, decided it was time to find humor in this experience that has affected so many women. And her book is called My Tale of Two Titties. Yes. I know, right, Rob? My Tale of Two Titties. Sherry, I give you so much credit for writing this book.
Honestly, after I started to check into any kind of reading material, after the post-surgery, the double mastectomy, I was looking for something funny, something that had some humor in it. And I found a book called Life Between the Margins, and there was one chapter in there that was a little bit humorous. And I said, there's nothing funny that's been written about cancer. And I realized that some really funny things had happened to me. And I just wanted to document and make sure that everybody else was able to access something when they were going through something like I was.
I love your title, My Tale of Two Titties.
Thank you. That was I like it too, and that came to me one night. This was 6 years ago that I started writing this, and I realized that with both tits gone, that probably what I needed to call this book was My Tale of Two Titties.
So where are your titties?
My prosthetics, I still have them. My real titties are in the Chattahoochee River. That's what I wrote in the book. I figured, I asked my surgeon what he did with breast tissue once it was removed, and I had read somewhere a woman from New York had commented that hers were in the Hudson, and I said, well, I guess, Dr. Wood, mine are in the Chattahoochee. I still have my prosthetics. I don't wear them anymore. I loan them out. A lot of drag queens wear them. I work primarily in the gay community with HIV and AIDS, and so a lot of my friends, most of my friends, frankly, I'm a straight woman, not that that makes any difference, but most of my friends are gay, and I've worked with HIV and AIDS for probably about 24 years now.
So you loan your titties out to drag queens, your prosthetics.
You betcha.
Yeah.
I have two sets.
And
I have a big pair and a small pair.
a big pair and a small pair.
I do.
Why don't you wear them anymore?
I got tired of it, and I'm thin, and with the big tits on, I looked like I was going to topple over. I really did. And the first time I wore them, my husband said, "What have you done to yourself?" And I said, "Well, what do you think about these?" And he said, he hates them. He hated them from day one. He didn't like. He's the au naturel kind of guy. Thank God. And I mentioned in the book that my husband was a leg man, and it was a good, and he is. He was a leg and ass man. I didn't put the ass part in the book, but when I talked about having my breasts removed, he said, "I'm a leg man. I'm an ass man anyway." So it's okay. But I just got tired of it, and that's what the last chapter in the book is called, Retired, and Thelma and Louise are in their little cases in my closet.
So you named your titties Thelma and Louise.
Yes. Mm-hmm. They ended up everywhere. They ended up in the washing machine on one occasion. My husband just threw the bra in and forgot to take the prosthetics out. They didn't go in the dryer because they would have melted, and these things are not cheap. And I own a cabin in North Georgia. And I had left the cabin and realized that I had left Thelma and Louise in the cabin. I called my husband Spider, and I said, "Spider, would you get him and just bring him home?" Because I was too far out from the mountains. And he said, "Sure." Well, he put him in the glove compartment, and lo and behold, he got stopped by the police coming home from Clayton. And when he opened the glove box to get his registration and the insurance, there were Thelma and Louise.
Oh, man, I wonder what that cop was thinking. Are those two titties in your glove box? Or are you just happy to see me? No. What a great story, Sherry. Laughter really is the best medicine. All right, Dana Christie loves reading romance novels, and over the summer, she found she had some time, and she started typing on the computer, and next thing you know, she wrote a book entitled A Heart's Salvation. Christy, you told me you've always wanted to write.
I always did. I always liked to write. I'm a teacher, and with my class, I'd always written little stories with them. And I wrote a children's book a long time ago that I never had published or anything. So it was just something I always liked to do. And even in class, I always used to write little stories and everything. So this was something I've always wanted to do, and I'm glad that I had the opportunity to do it. And I was surprised that when I sent it into Page Publishing that they really liked it and wanted to publish it. So it's very exciting.
Why were you surprised?
I don't know. I just, I kind of wrote it for myself, and I didn't know if it was really going to turn into anything big, because everybody is all into, with the romance books, the 50 Shades of Grey kind of thing, and that's not what this is about. This is more about, a girl trying to overcome her past and, decide whether she's going to let that take over her life or if she's actually going to, let love guide her. So it's just a very different story. And, I know everybody's more into, the hot, smexy kind of romances, but, this is like, to me, a real story.
Yeah, I was going to say, red rooms and, getting slashed and whipped and beaten. Not everybody's into that. That's not love. Do you think that's love?
No, it's not.
Yeah.
No, not at all.
Right. So you sent it into Page. They liked it. You had a good experience with them?
Yes, very. They were very helpful. They have a whole editing team that, walked me through the process of editing and the page design. And when I sent them in, like, my ideas for the book cover, they sent it back to me. It was, I couldn't have pictured it any better.
Oh.
It was so great what they did. So I was very, very happy with the outcome of it, and very excited to see it in print and everything. And I'm getting really good responses from people that have read the book. So I hope that the momentum keeps going.
Are you spreading the word?
Trying, through Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. I'm on Goodreads too. And right now my book is up for review on Reader's Favorites. So I'm waiting to see what they think of the book. So, I'm hoping it's getting some good responses. I've done some giveaways, and I got a nice review from one of the women who won the book. So
You've done giveaways.
I don't know if you're familiar with Goodreads. You could do like little giveaways where you put up a raffle, for signed autographed books, and people try to win them. And when they do, you send them out to them, and hopefully they read it and give you good reviews online. So
Good to know. That's good to know. You're hoping to write more?
I already wrote the second book to this. Their story is not over. It has a really nice ending, kind of a happy ending, but there's a lot more to the story, so people hopefully like it and will like book 2, because in the second book, they're still running from the demons from her past, and you got to find out if their love will survive. So, there's a second book on the way.
Great, Dana. Thank you so much. Okay, Page Publishing Book Club fans, I need you to get a piece of paper or, grab your phone and go to the notes page. Make a note of Goodreads. You can do giveaways there and raffles for signed autographed books, and then hopefully they give you a good review online. All right? Just one more way, one more avenue to let people know your book is out there. Time travel and reincarnation have captivated John Mack ever since he saw the movie Back to the Future. Captivated a lot of us, am I right? He's written a number of articles over the years, and they are all in his book entitled A Unique Eclectic Book of Essays. So, what will we find in this unique eclectic book of essays, John?
It begins with a poem, and it ends with a new canon for television and film. And then all in between there are essays and paradigms. The first 2 essays talk about time travel. The first one talks about how to travel through time in forward and reverse modes. And then the second essay is how time is frozen in the past. It has nowhere to go.
Have you ever time traveled, John?
That's funny.
Or only in your dreams?
I am Italian-Scottish. Maybe if anybody could, maybe I could. I don't know.
Why? Because you're Italian-Scottish?
Yeah. We're kind of unique. You know what I'm saying?
You are. I'll give you that.
Yeah. Well, my email name is Time Traveler.
So you're fascinated by time travel?
Yes. I've always been curious about other dimensions, reincarnation, which is affiliated with the notion of time travel.
Right.
Oh, yeah. And then after the articles on time travel, of course, I talk about, there's a timeline paradigm in there. The timeline paradigm explains every notion of how time exists and if travel is possible. And then, of course, there's an essay in there on soul reincarnation, and then how God flies through space, which is, the ontological argument. The very first essay in the book is on time travel, and I got inspired to write it after watching Back to the Future, 1985, at Southern Illinois University.
I don't think you were alone in that.
No. After viewing it, I saw how illogical it was. You have ethos, pathos, and logos.
Yeah.
Those 3 terms which pertain to how to analyze film or television.
Right.
Well, the logos is, of course, messed up. You cannot go back and see your mother before you were, before you even conceived.
Yeah.
Anyway, I got inspired. It was my first writings on my very first essay was after viewing Back to the Future, 1985. I immediately went to Godfather's Pizza to eat dinner, and I got a bunch of napkins, and I started the first writings on that topic. And really funny is about 10 years ago, I was invited. I'm down in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and of course I have friends that are Baptists, and they invited me to a church supper. They fooled me. They said, okay, we're going to have breaded ham and ocean perch. They didn't really tell me that the breaded ham was deer meat. After eating this deer meat and perch combination, I had this mental peak. I was like Albert Einstein for like 6 hours. I went back and corrected the last paragraph on page 2 of my article on time travel, which I could not get right for like 3 years. I went back and I just redid the whole page with no problem. And yeah, it took deer meat and ocean perch to get it done.
Wait a minute. Deer meat and ocean perch? All right. I think I'm going to try that. You know, when I hit a writing wall or when I just can't think, my creativity just hits the freaking wall. Yeah. John Mack, by the way, was a radio TV major in college and he ended up being an ice cream man. So obviously his book is full of flavor and humor. Good humor. Get it? All right. On that note, we are going to take a quick break, and I mean quick, so don't get distracted. All right. Coming up, a wonderful piece of fiction full of sex and lies that wound up in a law library. True. And a mother of 8 details how she got out of a terrifying cycle of domestic violence. Stay with us.
Have you written a book and want to get it published? Then now's the time to call Page Publishing at 800-204-6099 and do it immediately. You see, they're looking for authors of all types of books. And unlike most publishers, Page Publishing will take the time to review most of the books submitted to them. And they'll even give you their feedback. And if they like what they read, Page Publishing will get your book into bookstores and for sale online at Amazon, the Apple iTunes Store, and other outlets. They'll handle everything. Copyright protection, printing, cover art, publicity, and editing. So if you've written a novel, a children's book, a cookbook, inspirational work, a book of poetry, or biography, and want to get it published, then you need to call Page Publishing and do it immediately. Call 800-204-6099 now for your free author submission kit. Your road to fame and fortune could very well start with this simple phone call for your free author submission kit. Call Page Publishing at 800-204-6099.
Welcome back to the Page Publishing Book Club. I'm your host, Alice Stockton Rossini. Rob Barrett's my engineer on the other side of the glass. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. We'd be very lonely here without you. Phyllis is a library coordinator at a law library in Chicago, and now one of her books is in it. Phyllis loves writing fiction, and you described this book entitled Don't Count Sheep, Count M's as a, quote, family saga.
It's about 2 children growing up in different families, and they meet in Chicago. And the girl herself is kind of naive. The guy is, well, for lack of a better word, he was never loved as a child, so he thought the world owed him something, and he would stop at nothing to get it. And the girl, he found out that the girl had what he wanted, so he went after her. Okay. So they married, and he didn't love her, but he wanted what she had. So he had an affair with another girl. The girl, Millie, that he married could not have children, but the girl that he was dating could. So he had babies by her, took them to Millie, and pretended they were adopted.
This is crazy.
It is. She believed it because she was kind of a little simple-minded and naive, and she would do anything to please him. So she thought she would lose him if she didn't have children, because when she first said something to him about adopted, he said absolutely not. He wanted his own blood. But after he had this affair with this woman, then that's when he had to change his tune because she was pregnant. And he said,
what was your inspiration?
Oh, I like to write, and if it's going to hold people's attention, you got to have something gripping in it. You got to be a page turner. So I just came up with different things.
You've been writing for a long time.
Yes, I have. I used to write when my children were small. They all grown and gone now. But I used to write when they were smaller, but it was for my own amusement. And my son, after he got older, Brandon, he told me, you know what, you need to get professional opinions. I think your writing is really good. But then he was my son, So I tried and tried and tried. I got more rejection letters. I could have papered a wall with them. And it's really hard to get published. Very, very hard to get published. So eventually I ran into Page Publishing, and I'm like, it sounds pretty good. So if I'm going to do this, I might as well go on and get it done now. And I did, and they're wonderful.
Good for you. And you work in a library.
Yes. Oh, it's here. They bought it.
They did?
Yes, absolutely.
That's awesome.
We have a popular section, and it's most of them have to do if they have a court scene or anything in there, then they'll buy it, We have a popular section here where we purchase books with a law scene, and mine does have that in there. But that's not the reason they bought it. They bought it because I work here. And everybody that I'm around always come back and tell me how much they liked it and they couldn't put it down. So that's the great part about it.
Are there more books coming?
Oh, yeah, I'm almost done with another one.
Tell our listeners, tell them what they should do.
You come up with any idea, start putting down notes everywhere. You know, I don't care if you're on the train, if you're even in your kitchen cooking, stop for a minute and jot down the notes so you won't forget it. And then start putting it together piece by piece. And if you like it, keep it. Don't let anybody discourage you from doing what you want to do. I love writing. You know, I like the idea that I can erase it and go back and change it and say, oh, that sounds better. Do it. If that's what people want to do, do it. I love it.
Do it. Thank you, Phyllis. Napkins, note paper, toilet paper, wherever you are, you have an idea, write it down, and then follow up with it, embellish it, write some more. Dabrika Handy decided to share her life story in the hope she can be an inspiration to others. It's usually why people decide to share their life stories. It's about how she survived domestic violence that began in her teens and continued into her 40s. She became the mother of 8 children in the process. Dabrika, how did you get to the point where you could share such a painful story?
Well, I got to the point once I decided to give myself back to Christ and let God heal me in all the areas that I was affected, which made it much more easier for me to be able to write about it. So I guess I can say that I was healed from it before actually being able to write about it. I grew up in a single-parent home with my mom and a stepdad, and my biological dad was not there. He was not a part of my life. Although he had a marriage and other kids with his wife, he didn't play a part in my life, and that made me feel like if I just wasn't worthy enough, or that he loved me, or that I was just maybe like an accident or something that came about. And it left me with a hole in my heart, and I, instead of letting, me heal the proper way and live my life according to how I was supposed to, I went out there looking for love because I was angry that he was not around or he wasn't there. And by me going out there looking for love, this one particular guy that I was involved with pretended to be something that he really wasn't, which led me to my first domestic relationship.
Are your children, do they have the same father?
My older 3 have the same father, and my younger 5 has the same father.
Were they both abusive males?
Yes, they both were abusive, and the last abusive relationship caused me to lose custody of 6 of my children because my last 2 were conceived during the time that I was still being abused. But during that investigation, they couldn't find him anywhere around me, so therefore I kept custody of those 2. But I lost custody of 6 of them because of the last abusive relationship.
So this is kind of like a pattern, that women who are looking for love, tend to go out.
Yes, it's a cycle.
Yeah, it's a cycle, and it's amazing that you were able to break it.
Yes, because I watched my mom as a young girl. I watched my mom go through abuse from this guy that was in her life, and he wasn't even my dad. And for me, I saw family members also getting abused, and then they right back with that individual. So it confused me. It didn't give me the appropriate way to treat someone, that you love, or I didn't even get to experience what love really was because I'm looking at these individuals fighting amongst themselves and getting beat on, and then the next thing you know, they're right back with that individual that did it. So, of course, I'm going to think, that that's how you're supposed to love someone, and really it's not.
Was writing this book part of the healing process for you?
Yes, very much so part of the healing process. My life right now is wonderful. I'm happily married to a wonderful man who adores me, accepted me with all that I've been through, accepted me with all 8 of my children, and supports me in anything and everything that I wanted to do. And the first time that it came to me about writing the book, I didn't pretty much know what to do because it was like once we got married, I would find myself waking up out of my sleep. It's like I was standing in front of a group of women just sharing my testimony, and I'm like, well, I can't do that because it's so long of a history for me to just stand in front of women and share my testimony. So I told my husband, I said, what am I supposed to do? So he suggested to me that I get a paper and a pen and begin writing. And once I finished, it was in the form of a book. It had an introduction and it had an ending. And I was like, wow. I was like, okay, God, I hear you, so if this is what you want me to do, then by all means, I'm going to do it, even though I had to relive some of the harsh things that happened to me. But this was God's way of telling me that I need to share my story to help someone else's out.
How do you get this to women like you who need to read it and see that they can turn their lives around?
I've been doing those speaking engagements, and I've been doing book signings, and I pretty much encourage them because I have to let them know that your life goes on beyond abuse. Your life does not stop, and you cannot let these people who hurt you in the past affect how your future is going to be, because at the end of the day, God has the last say so over our life. And I tell everybody, if you have a story, tell your story. Your story may help someone else's out in any situation that they may be dealing with. We are not promised tomorrow, so why not live our life for the moment and enjoy it instead of giving those people who abused us or who affected our lives the upper hand over us when we're no longer with them.
Dabrika, it takes a lot of guts to turn your life around the way you did. I wish you the best of luck. I really do. Well, I think that about wraps it up for tonight. I hope you've enjoyed what you've heard here on the Page Publishing Book Club. Every single one of these authors is really no different than you when it comes to the fact that they are first-time authors, and somehow, some way, they found the time and the tenacity to get their stories in working order and get them published. If they can do it, so can you. Thank you so much for stopping by, and come back next week for another edition of the Page Publishing Book Club. Same time, same station, 710 WOR.
Have you written a book and want to get it published? Then now's the time to call Page Publishing at 800-204-6099 and do it immediately. You see, they're looking for authors of all types of books. And unlike most publishers, Page Publishing will take the time to review most of the books submitted to them. And they'll even give you their feedback. And if they like what they read, Page Publishing will get your book into bookstores and for sale online at Amazon, the Apple iTunes Store, and other outlets. They'll handle everything: copyright protection, printing, cover art, publicity, and editing. So if you've written a novel, a children's book, a cookbook, inspirational work, a book of poetry, or biography, and want to get it published, then you need to call Page Publishing and do it immediately. Call 800-204-6099 now for your free author submission kit. Your road to fame and fortune could very well start with this simple phone call. For your free author submission kit, call Page Publishing at 800-204-6099.